Captain America Civil War. By far, I will tell you this right now, by far the best comic book movie to have come out since The Winter Soldier. Now, before I get into my review, I want to say this again. Spoilers. This review is 100% spoilers. Do not watch the video past this point if you don't want spoilers. I do not want bitching about spoilers. Alright? Leave. Don't come back. Now let's get into it. So, first, there's like 3 different subplots. There are like 3 different plots. Well, 3 different ways this movie's going on. The first is the Sokovia Accords, the piece of legislation written up by various countries and signed by over 100 countries across the world, or organized by the UN to control the Avengers because they have an issue with the casualty rates that they've been ranking up when doing their superhero duties, and due to the fact that they are essentially the most powerful beings on the planet, just completely unchecked. Now, this same issue was brought up in Batman v Superman, where Superman gets called up by the U.S. government, and it was a whole thing, but it was only like 12 minutes of the entire film. This actually takes more into place, and that's where the second thing involving the movie, the second plot point involving the movie, which would be the Iron Man versus Captain America fight. Now, obviously, they already have ideological differences on it, but it goes even more so when the Winter Soldier is accused of committing an act of terrorism by blowing up the UN's meeting in... I forget where it was. I honestly forget where it was, but they blew up a UN office while the accord was being signed, and it caused tons of death, tons of destruction, killed the Crown King of Wakanda, which is how Black Panther gets introduced to this. And I will get to Black Panther. I'm not going to say it just yet. And the third plot point would be Baron Zemo, the villain, I guess, of this movie. Okay, I really want to get this out of the way first because I want to get to the good shit. Baron Zemo, I honestly feel didn't really have to be in this movie. But he's like the slight behind the scenes guy who's just controlling everything. And look, it's weird how Zemo is portrayed in this movie because there's like 4 problems I have. 1, he almost seemingly doesn't have a connection with Hydra. In fact, he has to go to a Hydra operative who has the book of the codes that to activate the sleeper cell mind of Bucky. He literally has to torture it out of him, and he doesn't give way because, you know, Hydra operatives, they don't talk. And it's like he doesn't have Hydra behind him. It's weird. He didn't even have his costume. That's another thing that really bugs me. Crossbones gets his full costume. Which, by the way, the Crossbones thing is literally settled in the first 10 minutes of the movie. I really didn't have hope for Crossbones in the first place. I didn't really care about him. But that thing is settled in the first 10 minutes. And then, like, you gave Crossbones a really cool costume, by the way. His costume was really impressive. And, like, the inner mechanisms and his gear, it was just really cool. But Zemo gets nothing. Like, at least give him a purple shirt to wear or a purple sock mask to put over his head while committing crimes. Like, something, people, something. Like, anything at all. 2, he's not German. He's Sokovian. Sokovian. And that's one of the things that happens. This movie is basically the after effects of Age of Ultron. And after effects of basically everything that has happened since the first Avengers movie. All the incidents with the people, the invaders, the helicarriers trying to kill people, all those damages and all the people whose lives were destroyed during that, all the blame gets thrust onto the Avengers. Now, here's the thing. These people would have died if more people would have died if the Avengers hadn't have done something than if they had. And that's one of the kind of annoying problems with the comic book world that every comic book fan knows about. It's harder to be the hero than it is to be the villain. To be the villain, because the villain is going to be naturally hated by everybody. The hero is both loved and hated in the worst ways. If I save you, oh, you complain that I didn't save you quick enough. Bitch, you're alive and you're unharmed. Shut the fuck up. And that's another problem that happens. Because of that, it ensues guilt in the characters, which is one of the reasons why Tony Stark goes along with this shit. A woman, while he's giving I guess, a demonstration of some of his tech at MIT, a woman whose son used to go there meets up with him and blames him for her son's death because he was doing humanitarian work in Sokovia at the time of the incident. Which, by the way, is also the reason why Zemo is after the Avengers, because his family was just outside, far away outside, but still died due to buildings and shit collapsing during the Sokovia turning into a meteor that would have killed half the planet. It doesn't take much. Now, I will say this about Zemo. His plan is pretty smart. A lot of the time in these Avengers movies, we've been having mind games. Loki with the mind staff, just touch, you're evil. And Avengers 2 with the fucking Wanda using her mental abilities to fuck with people's mind, and then the brainwashing of Bucky and the Hydra agents, and it got into a whole thing that just became annoying with brain shit. But now, instead of manipulating people through mind control or some shit, he does it with just mind games. It's easier to tear something apart. It's harder to tear something apart from the outside than opposed to the inside. So instead of trying to get enough power to destroy the Avengers, let's just have them, the already strongest beings on the planet, tear each other apart. Which works in ways that I doubt he even planned, especially when it came to Rhodey. But there's another subplot where it was like, this is weird. So, back in 1991, when the Starks died, who was killed by Bucky, which is later revealed, which I completely forgot about. They made a reference to this in not in Winter Soldier, which I almost completely forgot about. That Hydra killed Howard Stark, but we didn't know who at the time, but it was Bucky. It mentions how he found a formula, and there was I guess another synthetic version of the super soldier serum that it looks like the fucking blue shit from the movie Lucy. Like, I almost thought that this shit was gonna turn these niggas into divine fucking beings. Yo, it was weird. But how they train them to be super soldiers even better than the Winter Soldier himself. And we go to, try and stop him from activating these guys, and he just shoots them in the head anyway. Like, why? The subplot was so unneeded. You ran all the way over here. The fuck? That being said, let's move on from Zemo and his bullshit. The other two really important things two other really important introductions in this movie is, one, the introduction of Black Panther, the realest nigga in this movie, the guy who clearly takes the show. Everyone else is pussy. Black Panther, realist. And Spider-Man. So, obviously, from my reaction, I do not like Spider-Man. I don't really care for the costume. I like the web shooters. The web shooters are cool. I like web shooters. They're fucking awesome. But I don't care. I don't like how he's 14 years old. He's literally is so young. He told Tony he can't go help him save the world because he has to do homework. I'm gonna just let that sink in for a second. Boy. Are you shitting me? Are you shitting me? You fucking with me, right? You fucking with me. Bitch, I just asked you to save the world. You better get off your ass and do it. Now, I don't like how he also didn't create his suit by himself. Like, he had a shitty suit, which always happens in Spider-Man. He starts off with a shitty suit and then gets out with the real one. But this one is automatically just made for him by Tony. And I don't like that. I mean, Tony has made Spider-Man a suit before. Iron Spider, obviously. But just straight out the gate, I don't really like that. Two, he's also not funny. He wasn't funny to me in the slightest. He only actually made like 3 jokes which were actually decent. Everything else he said was just stupid. Like, he's just so agitating, especially with his voice. I don't know how old the actor who's playing him is. I think someone told me he was 19. So he's a 19-year-old who looks like and is playing a 14-year-old. Boy, why haven't you gone through puberty yet? The fuck? He only says like 3 funny things. One, when they're running, when everyone gets the group shot and they're all running at each other and colliding. Which, by the way, I went back and saw the trailer again just to make sure, because I thought this at the immediate moment when I saw this. Spider-Man is not in the shots in the trailer. They edited him out, or those were different shots with him purposely out. They purposely hid the fact that he was even in this movie until the trailer where he was introduced. That's smart on their part, because a lot of people would be annoyed at the fact that that's the only time that Spider-Man was shown. But moving on from that, he when he says that, when they're running together, he's like, they're not slowing down. That's one funny thing. The two, how he mentions how Cap's goddamn shield defies the laws of physics. It just defies the laws of physics. Everyone knows that, but I'm glad that he pointed it out, because that thing should not behave. Yo, even though it's vibranium, that shit should not be like a homing beacon. Nigga just tosses that shit. Boy. And 3, Captain America compliments him. He asks him where he's from, and he's like, I'm from Queens. Goes, Brooklyn. That's it. The last one isn't even that funny. It's just a reference to how, back in the first movie, he's just a kid from Brooklyn. Like, and also, back when that scene happened in the goddamn movie, when we saw his place back in Queens, which, by the way, he lived in an apartment building. What's up with that? When we saw his place back in Queens, there were mad people in the theater clapping. And I mean mad people, like 4. There were 4 people in the theater clapping. Yeah, Queens, that's my borough. And then when he makes the Brooklyn joke, everyone in the theater started clapping. You can clearly see, boy, Brooklyn all day. All day, nigga. Beyond that. Anyway, when we go to his shit in Brooklyn, one, he's living in an apartment complex. I don't like that. You couldn't get him a house. There are still houses in Brooklyn. That's still realistic. I mean, not in Brooklyn, in Queens. In Brooklyn and Queens, you know, there are still houses for him to live in. Also, why is Aunt May sexy? Now, I'm not saying Aunt May has to be old as fuck, like she was in the first Spider-Man trilogy, but why is she hot? Like, Aunt May looks like she's in her mid-30s, maybe 40. Why is she hot? I'm not complaining that she's hot, but why is she hot? Also, why is Aunt May the ultimate crutch? Tony uses Aunt May to both get Spider-Man to fight alongside him and to stop Spider-Man from fighting at all. I don't like it. And also, there's a post-credit scene. There are 2 post-credit scenes. But there's a post-credit scene of Spider-Man fiddling with his web shooter, and there's like a Spidey symbol. What the fuck is that? I do not remember that from the comic books. If someone knows what the fuck that's supposed to reference, besides the Spider-Man Homecoming movie, which, by the way, is the most horrible title I've heard, Spider-Man Homecoming? Are you fucking shitting me? That's almost as bad as Dragon Ball Evolution. It better not be as bad as Dragon Ball Evolution, but Jesus God, that's a horrible ass title. Yo, the fuck is wrong with you people? Moving on from that, let's get to the realest character in this bitch. My nigga Black Panther. 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 Ah! Every scene. My friend said it perfectly. Every scene that Black Panther was in was better than every scene that he wasn't in. It's exactly that. That's 100% flat. It's Captain America's movie. It's Captain America versus Iron Man, and none of them matter. It's all Black Panther. Black Panther is the best character in this movie. In fact, I doubt a single person, a single critic, a single comic book fan, even DC fanboys would have to admit that Black Panther stole the fucking show. Which is hilarious, because if you think about it, technically speaking, out of all the comic book characters that have already been established in movies, and even this one, Spider-Man is technically more popular. His franchise is more popular than everyone else's here, including Iron Man's. For Black Panther to steal the show, when this is the first time he's ever been in a live-action adaptation, is beyond impressive. His movie is going to be the best shit when it comes out. Which, by the way, I do have like one problem with Black Panther. It has to do with his suit. But which, by the way, I love the suit. The way the helmet comes off, that it's a helmet, not a mask. It's a helmet. I like that. I like how he has the necklace on. I like how his claws are retracted. If that's not computerized and that's an actual mechanism of the suit, god damn! Yo, the department who developed that, y'all are awesome! Y'all did it justice! Y'all did it some goddamn justice! And speaking of justice, there's a lot of justice kicks in this movie. There are mad justice kicks. Nigga, spin kicked with justice, double justice spin kick, double face kick with justice, justice off the ass, my nigga. It's crazy with justice. But back to Black Panther. The problem that I have with his suit is he did not have vibranium weapons. He has vibranium claws, which you can consider a weapon, but he does not have his vibranium daggers. Nor did they mention how his suit can detect magic. I would have liked it if he looked at the vision once and just said, "There's a massive amount of energy radiating from you." That's all he could have said, and it would have been perfect for me. Just one sentence, but no mention to that. I feel as if, because this is technically an introduction to the universe, both Spider-Man and Black Panther's introduction to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and they're going to have their own standalone movie, I guess that's why they're not focusing too much on the characters and their abilities beyond the base, what you can clearly see with your eyes. But I still wanted more. I'm not disappointed, but I still wanted more. There can be more to be fleshed out. And also, there's this part where this black chick steps up to Black Widow and treats her with attitude. Actually, she's about to fight. I feel like that's one of the women who T'Challa is engaged to. I think there were twin sisters he's engaged to, and they cause an incident where they kill a woman that he loved, that he met on the outside world. I think that might be a hint at the plot of Black Panther. But to me, the plot of Black Panther is clearly going to involve Crow, Ulysses Claw, the Sound, the guy who had his arm cut off in Age of Ultron. That's clearly what's going to happen because vibranium weapons, vibranium mound. Which, by the way, the last thing, the post-credit scene with him, Captain America, and Bucky, which I really like. How Bucky chose to, until they can figure out a way to remove the brainwashing that was implanted in him by Hydra. Until that happens, he wants to be put on ice, which is about the most realistic thing he could do. But besides just hiding in Wakanda, that's about the most realistic self-sacrificing thing he could do at this time. I kind of don't like how they didn't show Wakanda. They showed a hospital in Wakanda, and they showed how Wakanda is scientifically advanced, clearly. but they didn't show anything of Wakanda other than a misty-looking African jungle and a giant vibranium statue of a Black Panther. That's it. Now that's a lot of dick teasing. That's some real dick teasing. That's like if you're having sex with somebody and just as you're about to reach it, they just stop. And I don't mean just like stop doing shit. I mean they just hop off of you and just put on their clothes and leave. Like, yo, can I finish? Like that's how bad the dick teasing is. That being said, the last thing I want to talk about in this movie, the action scenes. No. Before that. Uh, the Sokovia Accords was pitched to the was given to the Avengers by General Ross. I guess this is the way of them acknowledging the existence of the Hulk movie, the one that wasn't so good that came out I think before Iron Man actually, before the first Iron Man. I don't know if this is a hint at it, but it might be a hint at Red Hulk because he is Red Hulk. And by the way, I love how they make him the guy who's giving them shit. Like he goes, "You guys have monitored without power. You're the most strongest beings on the planet." Like, why didn't one of them say, "Didn't you hunt down Banner and try to make super soldiers?" Like, why are they taking shit from this guy? Why? Why? That's one weird thing that happened. Also, why the fuck have they not mentioned Squirrel Girl or anything involving the Infinity Wars? I thought this might be a place where they would introduce other characters like, or at least mention other characters like Doctor Strange, Captain Marvel, Squirrel Girl. The only two that are mentioned are Black Panther and Spider-Man because they're clearly visible throughout the movie, but beyond those two, nothing else is really mentioned. I don't know what's going on there. It's slightly weird. Can we get Squirrel Girl? Please? The all-powerfulness of squirrels? Please? Please? Can we get the one above all? Or is that pushing it? It would. I would just love it if during Infinity Wars Part 2, Stan Lee voices the one above all at the end of the movie, and that's his cameo. I would shit myself. It would be the best thing ever. That being said, the fight scenes is the last thing I'm going to talk about. Every fight scene is good. The fight scenes are awesome. And I really like how, if you've seen the trailers, you've seen at least a clip of, or at least a 10 seconds of each fight scene. That being said, the fight scenes themselves are extraordinary. The best one has to be the one in the airplane field where everyone's just fighting off against each other. And it really hits almost everything. Spider-Man, Black Panther taking on the Winter Soldier, taking on Cap, having to be thrown out of the fight because of Scarlet Witch, who really does help almost everyone in this thing. I like how they also sort of fix the weird Russian accent that she was giving off. Like it still feels like she has an accent, which is obvious because whenever someone learns English who that's not their first language, their accent is going to be present, but it's not as much. It feels far more English, like she really learned how to speak properly. But I don't like. I just don't. It's still a little buggy, her accent to me. But the most fights were great. I really like how they made Ant-Man have his giant form in this. I thought that was going to be something that they would save for Ant-Man and Wasp. But I guess Ant-Man isn't going to be really the key. The highlights of the Ant-Man Wasp movie is going to be Wasp, since he already had his own standalone. The last thing... What was I going to say? The last thing, during the fight, Rhodey gets hit. He's being chased after by Falcon, and he asks the Vision to clip Falcon's wings so he can stop chasing after them. And Falcon dodges, and it hits right here, right on his arc reactor, and it hits Tony. It hits Rhodey right on his arc reactor, shutting down his suit, plummeting him to the ground. He has spinal damage now, and he can't walk. He's most likely paralyzed from the ground, from the waist down. So it was that's clearly when Ant-Man, when Iron Man's character loses his mind. He hits he hits Falcon when he tries to apologize. He loses his shit. He goes off even more when he finds out that when Winter Soldier took out his parents. He goes insane. But at the end of it, he's with Rhodey trying to heal him. He made I guess equipment for it's some sort of equipment for his legs to help him walk, which reminds me a lot of what if you've read the if you've read X-Men comics, when you have Professor Xavier in the future arcs where he's like fighting in the desolate worlds, he has like a gadgets around his legs to help him walk. It reminds me a lot of that. If you know what I'm talking about, you can picture it in your brain. So that's one thing, and also the final thing that I want to talk about is there seems to be at least a hint of a relationship between Wanda and the Vision. So I like that, and I also don't like it because they didn't really put it in front of you. They just kind of just hinted at it. I kind of don't like that. I mean, it clearly shows that the Vision is gaining some sort of emotional understanding, and he seems to be more human. He seems a little too human. Like he's wearing a sweater throughout most of the movie. It's weird. And also, the reason why he hit Rhodey was because he lost focus when she got hurt. Clearly his emotional state is iffy. But the weird part was when Wanda tries to escape from him, she like uses her power to make him like sit down on the ground, and then she just destroys the complex and sends him like 400 feet down. Overkill much. I feel like that's a hint that Wanda's powers are gonna go off one day, and she's probably gonna end up melting the Vision like she did in the comic books. The question is, will that be before or after they have children? Spoilers! I know someone's gonna say it. Spoilers! I haven't read the comic books yet! Bitch, you know you can't read. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Captain America Civil War, it was a great movie. I give it a 9.6. There are a few problems here or there. I really do like the story. I love the action. I love how everyone really flows throughout this movie. It doesn't seem like most of our characters are sideline characters, except for I guess the Vision, because he's not really in that presence. Black Panther definitely stole the show. The dynamic between Cap and